The prophet Habakkuk writes, "The vision still has its time, presses on to fulfillment, and it will not disappoint. And if it delays, wait for it." But it's time for peace, so we're not supposed to wait. We're supposed to reimagine something. I think we're supposed to create a community of kinship such that God, in fact, might recognize it. Mother Teresa diagnosed the world's ills correctly, I think, when she suggested that the problem in the world is that we've just forgotten that we belong to each other. So how do we stand against forgetting that? How do we imagine a circle of compassion and then imagine nobody standing outside of it? How do we dismantle the barriers that exclude? How do we find our way out to the edges, to the margins? Because if you stand at the margins, you look under your feet, the margins are getting erased because you chose to stand there. And you stand with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless, and you stand with those whose dignity has been denied and those whose burdens are more than they can bear. And when you get really privileged, you get to stand with the easily despised and the readily left out, with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop, and with the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. If kinship happened to be our goal, we would not be promoting justice and peace, we'd be celebrating it. So for 30 years I've worked with gang members in Los Angeles County. There are 120,000 gang members. There are 1,100 gangs. A month ago, I buried my 200th young person killed in our streets for no reason whatsoever. And Homeboy Industries was born so that we could offer hope to those for whom hope is foreign. Gangs are the urban poor's version of teenage suicide. It's how they live out that self-destruction. Gangs are the places kids go when they've encountered their life as a misery. And who doesn't know by now that misery loves company? And so Homeboy Industries offers a place. We're job training. We have 10 social enterprises. We have free tattoo removal. We have mental health services, case management. 15,000 folks a year walk through our doors trying to catch the crumb of hope that falls from the table. It's about somehow addressing the despair of those who can't imagine tomorrow. And if you can't imagine your tomorrow, your present isn't very compelling. It's about helping those who are so traumatized and damaged that they cannot see their way clear to transform their pain, so they keep transmitting it. And it's about mental health issues. Were we to infuse hope to folks who didn't have any, if we were to help heal the damaged, if we were to deliver mental health services in a timely and culturally appropriate way, it would make a difference. What we choose to address matters. For there's an idea that's taken root in the world, it's at the root of all that's wrong with it, and the idea would be this, that there just might be lives out there that matter less than other lives, and we stand against that idea. So one of our biggest businesses is the Homeboy Silkscreen Factory, huge factory. Thousands of enemy rival gang members have worked there. I had a guy, a little chaparrito, a guy named Youngster, who was ready to work. So I bring him to the factory. I introduce him to his 30 co-workers. He shakes hands with all of them, lots of enemies. I think this is great. And then he gets to the last guy, a guy who was trying to avoid this encounter altogether, a kid everybody calls Puppet. And when Puppet and Youngster are in each other's vicinity, they don't say anything. They mumble, look at their shoes. I know they're enemies because I know what gangs they're from, but he just shook hands with lots of enemies. I discover later that this is a hatred that's really quite deep and personal and beyond which neither of them think they can get past. So I sensed that much at the moment, and I said, look, if you can't hang working with each other, let me know. I got a bunch of people who want this job, and they don't say a word. 6 months later, a Puppet leaves his home to go to a corner store some distance from his house. He purchases something. On the way home, for some reason, he decides to take a shortcut. He dodges into an alley, and because he took this detour suddenly, unexpectedly, he's surrounded by 10 members of a rival gang, 10 against 1, and they beat him badly, and he falls to the ground. And while he's lying there, they will not stop kicking his head until he's lifeless. Somebody finds his body and takes him to the hospital where he's declared brain dead. But they keep him on machines for 48 hours so they can get a flat read and make the death official. This allowed family and friends to gather. I was in St. Louis, Missouri. I flew home. I've seen a lot of horrible things in my life, nothing to compare to the sight of this young man with his head swollen many times its size. It was horrifying. As a priest, I blessed him at the end of the 48 hours. We disconnected, and I buried him a week later. But in the first 24 hours, as he was lying beaten in the hospital, I'm alone in my office at 8:30 at night, and I get a phone call, and it's from Youngster, from the silkscreen factory, and he says, "Hey, that's messed up about what happened to Puppet." And I said, "Yeah, it is." And then he said with a certain kind of eagerness even, "Is there anything I can do? Can I give him my blood?" And we both fall silent under the weight of it, until finally he breaks the silence, choking back his tears, and he says with great deliberation, "He was not my enemy. He was my friend. We worked together." Now, can I say that always happens at Homeboy Industries? Of course it does. And it shouldn't surprise us that God's own dream come true for us, that we be one in kinship, just happens to be our own deepest longing for ourselves. For the vision still has its time, presses on to fulfillment, and it will not disappoint. And if it delays, we wait for it. Thank you very much.